react today to the 2016 presidential debate. We ask that you be quiet and respectful for the speakers. No questions, comments, clapping, or booing during the debate. We ask that you give your full, undivided attention to the candidates. And now for the Democratic Vice Presidential candidate, Tim Kaine. The Republican Vice Presidential candidate, Mike Pence. The Democratic presidential nominee, Hillary Clinton. The Republican presidential nominee, Donald Trump. Now if you will all rise, put your right hand over your heart and join us as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the junior high choir will sing the national anthem under the direction of Mr. Crump. We would like to announce our moderators and candidates for the 2012 election.
The Republican presidential candidate, Mitt Romney, was represented by Shay Dewar. And the Republican vice presidential candidate, Paul Ryan, was represented by Luke Martin.
The Democratic presidential candidate, Barack Obama, was represented by Ben Kufal. And the Democratic vice presidential candidate, Joe Biden, was represented by Jade Oliveira.
given 2 minutes for an opening statement. We will then proceed with the questions. Each presidential candidate will start by answering 6 questions from the former president. For some of the questions, the candidates will be allowed an opportunity for rebuttal. Next, the presidential candidates will be given 3 questions from the former presidential candidates. And then, the presidential candidates will be asked 5 more questions. We will finish the debate with a 1-minute closing statement from each of the candidates. As we start the debate, we ask that the crowd remain silent.
The first question tonight will be under the topic of economic issues. Could candidates come forward? Okay, we'll start with the opening statements by each candidate. Trump, we'll let you go first.
Hello, I'm happy to be here with you all today. I'm excited to see how far we have come from day one. I'm also glad to have at my side Governor Mike Pence. Under our leadership, our country will return to the law and order that we need because I am the law and order candidate. But our country will also be a country of generosity and warmth. I have been a businessman all my life, unlike Secretary Clinton, who has never run a business before. I have been a very successful businessman, and I intend to use these same principles to make America wealthy again. In this debate, you will see that Hillary and I have very different views on how we should run this country. But in the end, I hope you will stick with me. With Mike and I, the American people will be first once again, and together, we will make America great again.
Debate. Mrs. Clinton, you're up next.
Thank you for coming out today. It's been a long journey full of ups and downs, but this right here is your chance to decide who you're going to vote for. America is going to be a strong leader, and I think that it is safe to say that Trump and I are those people. So whoever gets picked today, whichever way it goes, America is going to have a strong leader to lead them.
All right, for our first set of questions, they're going to be over economic issues. Ms. Clinton, should employees be required to pay men and women the same salary?
Women earn less than men across our economy, and women of color often lose out the most. We should promote pay transparency across the economy and work to pass the Paycheck Fairness Act, which is a bill that I introduced as Senate. And along with the closing the pay gap, I want to make child care more affordable. I would also like to increase minimum wage, along with fighting for paid leave for situations like taking care of a sick family member, or a parent having a baby and having to go straight back to work, and that applies to male and female, because no one should have to choose between their job or a family member.
Mr. Trump.
I support equal pay for equal work regardless of gender. In Hillary Clinton's staff, for every time she paid a man $1, she paid a woman 72 cents. Between 2002 and 2008, there has been a 28% difference in the way she paid women compared to men. This means that she paid men more than women at a 28% difference. I would like to ask Hillary Clinton why you would pay women different than men.
As I have stated many times, I do want to make sure women are being paid more. But at least I pay who works for me, unlike Trump, who has had many people come and work for him that he has not paid at all.
It's because they don't do a good job and they don't follow their contract, and I say that if you follow your contract, you should be paid as much as you did in the contract. And in your own staff, you pay women less than men.
All right, we're going to move on to the next question. Mr. Trump, should the government raise the federal minimum wage?
No, and here's why. Our taxes are too high, our wages are too high, and with these two so high, we won't be able to compete against the world. We have to leave it the way it is to support our economy, and when the economy recovers, then we can discuss minimum wage. And if you pay people more, you will have to fire more people, and this is what Hillary wants, is to pay people more. Why would you want to pay people more and raise the minimum wage. If you will just make it higher, the economy will fail.
Over the years, our prices on everything, especially groceries, have gone up, yet our minimum wage doesn't seem to be keeping up. And because of this, many Americans are in poverty, including children. Every night, children all across America go to bed hungry. And my belief is that one of the first steps we can take to end this is to raise minimum wage. I would like to raise taxes for the upper class, but lower them for the lower class.
Mr. Trump, do you have a rebuttal?
No.
Okay, Secretary Clinton, the next question. How do you intend to make sure all Americans have access to health care?
I want to build on the progress we've made. I want to defend the Affordable Care Act, which covers 20 million people. But at the same time, I want to bring down the cost of out-of-pocket payments, such as co-pays and deductibles. I want to reduce the cost of prescription drugs, protect consumers from unjustified, long-standing life-saving treatments, and face little or no competition. I'm going to extend funding to hospitals, and I will fight to get health care for low-income families, as well as expand affordable care to rural areas who sometimes can't find good affordable care, because health care is a basic human right.
Mr. Trump?
So you've got this crazy system where all of a sudden 25 million more people have health care than the people who are out there bustling it, sometimes 60 hours a week, wind up with their premiums doubled and their coverage cut in half. It's the craziest thing in the world. These are the exact words of Bill Clinton, Hillary's husband. What do you think about it? Here's another one. Quote, "No, we can't trust the American people to make those types of choices. The government has to make those choices for the people." End of quote. This is a quote from Hillary. What happened to what Lincoln said? Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We can't trust Hillary with our health care any more than we can trust her with classified information.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
What exactly is your plan for health care? Because you tell us you're going to repeal it, yet you won't tell us what this new health care is going to be that you plan to bring on. So what exactly are you going to do for us?
I will repeal health care. And if Obamacare is the craziest thing in the world, we need to get rid of it. Hillary Clinton is going to keep it in, and we have to get rid of it, or else it's just going to get worse. And like she already has made a lot of things already worse. We can't afford to have our health care be worse also.
Moving on to our next set of questions. We have domestic policy issues. Our first question is, should there be more restrictions on the current process of purchasing a gun? Ms. Clinton, I'll start with you.
We all have disagreements on gun safety regulations, but we should be able to agree on one thing. If the FBI is watching you for suspected terrorist links, you shouldn't be able to go buy a gun with no questions asked. If you are on the no-fly list, a domestic abuser, or have mental health problems, you should not own a gun. But I do support the Second Amendment. I do believe that every citizen has the right to bear arms, but I also believe that weapons of war have no place on our streets. I want to keep everyone safe and not harm gun violence. And to do that, I will expand background checks. I want to go deeper into that person's history that's buying that gun so we can make sure that they're not going to harm anyone with the gun they just purchased. Along with the Second Amendment, I also stand for the Brady Bill, which is a U.S. federal law that requires for a waiting period for handgun purchases and background checks on those who wish to purchase a gun.
Mrs. Trump?
I support the Second Amendment, and we should expand background checks. This is for those with criminal records and/or the mentally ill people, because the mentally ill tend to make up the bigger share of the mass shootings. The people who are on the no-fly list should not be allowed to buy a gun, because if they aren't allowed to board a plane, you really shouldn't have them be able to buy a gun, because it's just dangerous. Here's the thing, guns aren't the problem. It's the person pulling the trigger for harm that is the problem. That's where the problem comes in. The National Rifle Association, also known as the NRA, are supporting me. As I said earlier, it isn't the guns. If you take away guns, there will still be knives. And if you take the guns away, the terrorists will always have them. It isn't the guns.
Ms. Clinton, do you have a rebuttal?
Yes. In 2002, Trump said that the gun issue was just mental health, and we didn't need to put any more restrictions on guns. Yet, since then, he has changed his mind. And he has said in the past that he just looked at the recent things that have occurred, and that's what changed his mind. But what exactly have you looked at?
Well, I said it was mostly a mental ill issue, because some of the mentally ill somehow get a hold of a gun and they just pull the trigger and boom, another person's dead. And if we can keep them from getting guns, then that would be the best way to keep America safe.
Moving on to our next question. Should the government only put money into basic energy research, or should it help fund research in solar, wind, and other alternative energy technologies? Mr. Trump?
We will make America energy independent and create millions of new jobs and protect clean air and clean water. We will conserve natural habitat and reserve natural resources. This will create another 400,000 jobs per year. And I've gotten many, many environmental awards on the work that I've done for clean air and clean water that Hillary hasn't. And I support energy that is good for our economy. The current administration took billions of your hard-earned dollars and took it into Solyndra. Have you ever heard of Solyndra? No, they failed. Solyndra was a solar power company that was propped up by the U.S. government. I won't support these kinds of companies, and I have proof through those many, many environmental awards that I have.
Secretary Clinton?
America has always been a global technology leader. Today, technology and the internet are transforming nearly every sector of our economy. From manufacturing and transportation to energy, content creation, and healthcare. We can harness this power in a way that works for all Americans, such as creating good-paying jobs and boosting economic growth, making our communities safer and smarter, and making educational opportunities more accessible.
Okay, thank you for those responses. If we could please have the presidential candidate take a seat and the vice president come up to the stand.
We will now have our vice presidential questions. What do you feel would be your most important function as vice president, and explain how you would carry it out?
First of all, I want to welcome you all here and thank you for attending this mock debate. If elected, I, along with Donald Trump, plan to make America great again. I will make sure and improve the Veteran Benefits Program and Syrian refugees that need to stay in their own country. Yes, it's a sad situation, but they don't need to be bringing their problems into our great country. There's much more that I plan to do if elected. Trump and I will work together as a team along with the people of the United States and make America great again.
Mr. Payne?
That was just my introduction.
Keep going.
I feel one of my duties as Vice President is to be prepared to help Mr. Trump. I'll be ready to help him and support him when needed. I will represent our country in a proper manner when meeting world leaders if Mr. Trump is not able to. I will be ready to carry out any duties given to me. I will assist Mr. Trump if need be. I will support his beliefs as if they were my own. We will work side by side and together, and we will make America great again.
All right, Mr. Payne, your turn now.
First off, thank you for having me here today. I'd like to say that it is a pleasure to come out and speak to all of you. If elected, Hillary and I intend to make America stronger together, and Hillary and I have a plan, and we will put it in action if elected. We have shown the American people that there is an experienced, moral, and accomplished person to be your president. On Friday, as you cast your vote for Hillary Clinton, you can rest assured knowing that together we can make America stronger. And as Vice President, I will try my hardest to assist and support Mrs. Clinton when she needs it. I must be ready to serve in her place, and I believe I am. I'm ready to work as hard as the President would, or even harder. I will keep my White House duties in check, and I will be accountable for any mistakes. I will attend meetings if Mrs. Clinton is not able to, and I will represent the United States and express my opinions on what we believe is best for our people and our nation. I will be ready to do any needed duties for Mrs. Clinton. I believe that to make a strong nation, Mrs. Clinton and I must work together, hand in hand, to make this country stronger together.
All right, Mr. Payne, what qualities or traits do you possess that lead to your selection as the presidential candidate? Mr. Payne?
What qualities are... Hillary told me why she chose me. Hillary said, "You've been a missionary and a civil rights lawyer. You've been a city councilman and a mayor. You've been a lieutenant governor and now a U.S. Senator. Hillary thinks I'll help her figure out how to govern this nation so that administration is the difference we make in people's lives. Hillary thinks from looking at my experience that I'll be a good leader. And as governor of Virginia, I cut nearly $5 billion in spending, and I also wanted to make the US a safer place. When I became governor of Virginia, it had one of the highest homicide rates in the US, but through a lot of hard work with the police force, we cut that number nearly in half, making Virginia one of the top 10 safest states in the US. And I'm a well-rounded politician, and I will work very hard with Hillary to enhance and improve the US.
Mr. Pitts.
I served as Senate for 12 years in the state of Indiana. I will also finish my first governor term in 2017 of my state. I stand for anti-abortion, religious liberty, and governance. Donald has told me I am a man of honor, character, and honesty. I will help Trump's outreach to the Rust Belt and the middle class. I am added experience to Trump's ticket. While in office, I signed a Religious Restoration Act which protects religion. I have strong support among conservatives and ties to congressional leaders, which also make me a good vice president.
How should the United States handle refugees from Syria?
I agree with Donald Trump about suspending immigrants from countries where terrorists are a threat. I am completely against accepting Syrians and refugees into our country, saying that I have put a bill in Indiana not allowing any Syrians into this state that I govern. Saying that, yes, my state has a history of open arms and accepting immigrants, but Syrians are a threat, are dangerous, and my state's and country's safety comes first.
The Syrian conflict has led to the world's worst ongoing humanitarian problem and the worst refugee crisis since World War II. I urge Donald and Hillary to allow more Syrian refugees to resettle in the United States. I would like to accelerate and improve the Syrian refugee program, and Hillary and I will do immigration enforcement and will vet refugees on whether they are dangerous or not. We want to do background checks on them because we don't want to let any dangerous refugees in. I want to let more Syrian refugees in because it is a humanitarian thing to do, and the United States has always been open and caregiving. We hope it never comes to it, but if we have a crisis and people are fleeing our country, we hope that the countries we helped out in their time of need will help us in ours. May I respond to what you said? You said that you won't allow any Syrian refugees to resettle in the state of Indiana, which Mike Pence is governor of. And my question for you is, why do you think that you can overrule the Constitution?
Like I said before, the safety of our people comes first before accepting refugees from another country. I have reevaluated them and they are a threat to our people.
All right, for our final question for our Vice President, Mr. Kane, explain how you see our government's role in aiding our veterans once they return to their civilian life.
I joined a bipartisan group of senators to introduce the Veterans Access to Care Through Choice, Accountability, and Transparency Act of 2014, legislation to improve veterans' access to health care and address serious problems facing the VA. The bill allows veterans to see private doctors outside the VA system if they experience long wait times or live more than 40 miles from the VA facility. The very first bill I introduced as U.S. Senator was the Troop Talent Act, made to help veterans use their military training for civilian careers. I also worked on military family issues in our schools. All these issues are very dear to me because I am a proud military dad, and I vow to fight for veterans and military families. I want to protect the GI Bill and support military families, and I was involved with a number of subcommittees dealing with improving civilian life for veterans. And our veterans deserve timely access to quality health care in the Department of Veterans Affairs, and we must restore their trust.
I want to make it easier for veterans to access federal benefits that they deserve, and increase access to better educational choices for their children. I have signed more than a dozen bills to expand benefits and opportunities for Indiana's military service members and veterans. One spokesperson who once led Indiana's National Guard for 11 years says he was particularly pleased with one that expands the military family relief fund. We have seen borders that have gone unrespected, a military that has been diminished, promise after ringing promise to our veterans promptly forgotten.
Thank you. If you guys like to take a seat, we'll have our presidential candidates have a
next set of questions will be over foreign policy issues. Mrs. Clinton will have you respond first. Should children of illegal immigrants be granted legal citizenship?
The United States has always welcomed immigrants. We have always encouraged people to come over and become a U.S. citizen. But as much as we don't want to admit it, our broken immigration system needs to be fixed. Our country needs a fair pathway to legal citizenship. If we claim we are for family, then we need to pull together and resolve the outstanding issues around our broken immigration system. I believe a comprehensive immigration reform should happen, not because it's the right thing to do, because it is, but because it strengthens our country.
Mr. Trump.
Tens of thousands of illegal immigrants have come into the U.S. One of those illegal immigrants went to Nebraska and ended the life of an innocent young woman, 21-year-old Sarah, with a 4.0 school record. She was just getting out of college when the man came up and shot her. This isn't the only case, though. There has been many, many more than that. The media just won't tell us this. We will secure our borders and stop illegal immigrants from coming in and bringing drugs and terrorizing us. The answer is a wall. A lot of people mock me when I say this, but you should know this. In 2006, Secretary Clinton, quote, voted numerous times for a barrier, end of quote. This is the wall. We will build a great wall along our southern border and Mexico will pay for it. When saying that, we will have a great door in the middle of it where you can come in legally. Think of our country like a house. Without walls, anybody can come in. But with walls, you can keep those unwanted people out. And there are women from Asia and Mexico that right when they hit 9 months of pregnancy, they come into the United States. When they have their child here, they say, "Oh, my child's a native-born American." But that's not right. With a wall, we will keep those people out.
Can I respond to that? Trump, you have told us many, many times that you are going to build this great wall. You're going to make Mexico pay for it. But you have never told us how you're going to make Mexico pay for it. So would you like to share that with us?
We will cut the flow of the billions of dollars in payments that immigrants are sending home to Mexico. And this is how we will do it. It is cheaper to wire money over to Mexico. To wire money is to tell a bank that you want to send so-and-so so much money. Then the bank will contact a bank over in Mexico, or wherever you're sending the money to, and they will give that money to them. To know if they are illegal aliens or not when they are at the bank is we will make it so that they will have to show a picture ID or a regular ID before they can do anything for you. We will also raise the cost of visas, or we will just stop allowing visas from Mexico.
May I respond to that?
Yeah.
Trump, you have just said that you're going to stop the wiring of money, but how do you plan to do this?
Well, we're not exactly going to stop wiring. We're just going to make it so that they'll have to show an ID because illegal immigrants won't have an ID on them. So if they don't have an ID on them, we will send them to jail.
All right, we have to move on now. Mr. Trump, you have the question first. Should U.S. soldiers go into Syria to stop ISIS?
No, and here's why. 400,000 people were killed and millions were displaced when ISIS took over. It would be hard to help Syria and fight ISIS at the same time. First, we will have to knock out ISIS before we help bring back order to Syria. We need to work with our Arab allies and friends in the Middle East in the fight against ISIS. Hillary will make ISIS worse, just like she already has. Hillary says that, quote, no U.S. boots will touch the ground in Syria. And she isn't kidding when she says that. And we got proof. Benghazi. Hillary Clinton says that the attack was not a terrorist attack and was, quote, was it because of a protest or was it because of guys out for a walk one night and decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference does it make? End of quote. Hillary's advisors leave no doubt that she did know that it was a terrorist attack by some of the emails that she has released. By the way, the people who are trying to find your emails say that they're nowhere near done, but we won't get into that. There were 4 innocent young American men's lives who were taken by those terrorists. She would not send backup and denied multiple requests for it. Do you really want a president who could do it again?
Secretary Clinton.
We will defeat those who threaten us. We will keep our country safe and strong, free and tolerant. And we will always defend our friends and allies. But we will do this without U.S. boots touching the ground. I want to intensify the coalition air campaign against ISIS fighters. I would also like to harden our fences at home, such as supporting law enforcement and building trustful, strong relationships with the American Muslim communities, as well as all other Americans. Because we need every American community invested in this fight and not sitting fearful in silence. May I respond? If Trump was asked if he had a plan to defeat ISIS, but he said no, but when I do come up with a plan, it's going to be great. So I guess my question is, do you really have a plan to defeat ISIS, or are you just telling us you do, so we'll believe you?
I do have a plan, and here is what it is. We will bomb their oil fields, and we will get the money here. ISIS will get their wealth from their oil fields. Then, if we bomb their oil fields, they won't have any wealth, and we can defeat them. ISIS came into the power they have now by the deal that the Obama administration set up with Iran, and Hillary was a part of that, and she has set money into that administration.
Moving on to our next question. What is your plan for keeping potential foreign terrorists from entering the United States?
I believe that to keep the threat of terrorists out of our country, it starts with trust. We will need to build on the trust of all Americans. We also need to harden our defenses at home fighting with law enforcement. We will need to make sure they are all getting the right tools and training so they can prevent attacks before they happen. I would also like to allow the FBI to shut down gun sales if there is any suspicion that a terrorist might get hold of a gun. The point of this is to try and keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people. I believe that we should be working with our allies to dismantle or shut down global terror networks.
First off, what is terrorism? Terrorism is when a person or persons come into our country illegally and use the terrorism in the pursuit of political aims. ISIS wouldn't be as big as it is now if Secretary Clinton wouldn't have gotten involved. We need to suspend on a temporary basis immigration from some of the most dangerous regions in the world that have a history of exploiting terrorists. This means that if our country is sending out immigrants that are terrorists, we will quit accepting immigrants from that country.
Ms. Button, do you have a rebuttal? All right. For our next set of questions, we have science issues. Mr. Trump, should the government increase environmental regulations to prevent climate change?
I think it's ridiculous. We have more important things to worry about, such as Iran and ISIS, than climate change. I think it's going to get a little warmer, a little colder, and then a little warmer again. It's called weather. I believe in clean air and clean water, and I think that is just a big scam for a lot of people to get a lot of money. And I've gotten many, many environmental awards for the work that I've done for clean air and clean water.
Ms. Button?
Climate change is an urgent threat and defining challenge of our time. It threatens our economy, our national security, and our children's health and futures. We can tackle it by making America the world's clean energy superpower and creating millions of good-paying jobs. Taking bold steps to slash carbon pollution at home and around the world and ensuring no Americans are left out or left behind as we rapidly build a clean energy economy. I will generate enough renewable energy to power every home in America, with 500 million solar panels installed by the end of my first term. I've cut energy waste in American homes, schools, hospitals, and offices by a third, and make America manufacturing the cleanest and most efficient in the world. I will reduce American oil consumption by a third through cleaner fuels and more efficient cars, boilers, ships, and trucks.
Mr. Clinton, do you have a rebuttal?
No.
For the next question, Secretary Clinton, you can respond first. Explain your position on whether the government fund space travel.
NASA has been underfunded for years now, and I really do support space travel. I actually wanted to be an astronaut when I was a teenager, but I got rejected because they were not accepting girls at the time. But I believe we should fund it because not only does it create jobs and businesses, but because it is one of America's advantages.
What we spend on NASA should be appropriate for what we are asking them to do. If we are growing with all of our people employed in our military readiness back to acceptable levels, then we can take a look at the timeline for sending more people into space. Our first priority is to restore a strong economic base to this country, then we can discuss spending on NASA. If you think about it, when Hillary was a teen, her dream job was to become a space traveler. They rejected her. I think that Hillary will defund it because she was denied.
Can I respond to that?
Is there
Everyone has a teenage dream, and you above all people should know about Trump, because you wanted to go on Broadway when you were a teenager. But are you using those acting skills and making us think you really know about politicians?
I did want to be an actor, and I was. I was in the movie The Little Rascals, Halloween, and 54, and they were all great movies. But my teen job didn't fail like yours. I became wealthy through my business, and if you want to call me an actor and a liar, then at least I wasn't the one who lied in front of a judge under oath.
My emails have been cleared. There have been a hearing about that. And
Actually, they were reopened on Friday.
yes, but as of now, they have been closed. But you said that you were very successful in your acting career, but one of your shows didn't even make it on stage.
Actually, The Little Rascals is a very popular movie, and so I think they are very successful. You didn't even make it, so,
Because they were not accepting girls.
Okay.
but they do now.
Alright, that's all the questions we have time for today. Thank you, guys. We will now move on to each candidate's closing statements. Secretary Clinton, please start.
I hope that throughout this campaign you'll listen to both sides of this election. I hope you will give me the chance of being president. Before you make your final decision, remember this. Do you want a president who doesn't pay taxes, doesn't even turn in his tax form, and who wants to deport thousands of families? Do you want a president who has no experience and that is going to treat our economy like a business? Or are you going to want a president who has 30 years of experience? Though Trump says I have not done much in those 30 years, my vote counts as one. Now Donald says, again, thank you for coming out, and remember, we are stronger together.
Mr. Trump?
As you can see, there are two completely different candidates up here that you will have to choose between. Hillary, who has been in politics for 30 years and has done nothing positive for America. We have the same problems now as we've had then. Or me, a successful businessman that will get America back on track again. Think about it. Do you really want somebody who is as untrustworthy as Secretary Clinton? Do you really want to elect somebody who is being investigated by the FBI? Hillary is involved in the disgrace we call Obamacare. Hillary was involved in the bad trade deals with Iran. Hillary was involved in ISIS having the power they have now, and those 30 years of service, which is actually just 30 years of harm to America. I have heard that some of you are voting for Hillary just because she's a woman. Well, let me ask you this. What kind of woman would do what she did and refuse to send help like she did at Benghazi? What kind of woman must she be to have Secret Service reports detailing that they do not want to work for her because she is such a terrible person to work for? I come before you a candidate you can trust. I come before you as the only candidate who is up here who has ever successfully run a business. I will get my economy running again, and I am the one with many, many environmental awards for clean air and clean water. I will build a wall and keep us Americans safe and the illegal aliens out. Do the right thing and vote for me, which is a vote for America. It is your choice, so vote for Trump, and together, let's make America great again. And last but not least, I'd rather be a little crude than always corrupt. Thank you.
Before closing, we would like each of you to say something you respect about one another.
Well, I respect the way that she always fights and she doesn't give up.
I respect the way that Trump will say whatever he thinks he needs to say.
Thank you both.
Thank you for coming out to our 2016 presidential debate and for being a good audience. I hope that you enjoyed our topics. Thank you to Mr. Barron's class and the moderators for providing the questions, and a special thanks to Mrs. Van Daan for helping and supporting both parties. Voting will take place Friday, November 4th. Please come out and vote. At this time, the candidates from the Republican and Democratic parties will exit through the back doors. You may reach them there and shake hands.